Hello and welcome back to All for United, and more specifically, welcome back to the tactical preview. We're going to be looking ahead to a massive clash against Aston Villa. Seems weird saying that, given the last 10 years of how Villa have done, but it is a massive game in the context for United on Saturday. Hoping to bounce back from West Ham. We'll be sort of deconstructing that, where we can improve, what went wrong. And yeah, just getting ready for the game. We're trying to stay joint top. It's a great position to be in. Hopefully we stay there. Got two really good guests on for you today, so I'll introduce them straight after this.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Here we have it. Stu, Marcus, it's brilliant to have you guys on. One less panel member than usual, but I'm sure we can make it work. Just before we start, Stu, I saw you bobbing your head to the intro. Are you a fan of the song?
Yeah, I always do. It kind of gets me going. It gets me motivated to talk a little bit of sense. But no, I quite like the intro. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as your sort of music, but
no,
anyway.
No, it isn't. Actually, back when I was a youngster, and I still do, I go to a lot of rock gigs. I like metal and that type of thing. So I used to have the long hair and the denim jackets with the old patches on the back. 70s and 80s type thing. Yeah, I was a bit of a dude when I was growing up.
I've got no doubt in that. But anyway, we'll look to the topic ahead. Villa coming up. It's given the last two cup fixtures that we've had, cup losses, it's looking like a bigger and bigger game by the day. So obviously we covered yesterday's game pretty heavily yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, then be sure to after this. So we're going to sort of look at it constructively and apply that to the Villa game. So it's obviously not the greatest angle to go on, because I don't think any of those players will be playing against Villa. But I'll come to you first, Stu. Sort of in a constructive way, what went wrong and how do we fix that on Saturday?
The problem that Ollie's got, and I think we've touched on this on many occasions, is when you put out almost a fresh 11. Well, it was a fresh starting 11, I guess. When you do that, it's always difficult because these guys are playing maybe the odd one or two behind closed doors matches. They're playing probably against the first 11 in training, and for formation, exposure, etc. But when you take it to match day, when you and I said this against West Ham actually on Sunday, that when you come up against a group of well organised, maybe not as technically gifted as what Manchester United has to offer as a squad, but when you come up against a group of organised professional footballers, a good group of men who are willing to stay compact, who are willing to attack in groups and defend in groups, it makes it very, very difficult. And you tend to be relying on that one moment of brilliance or two moments of brilliance is what we had to win you the games. Now, there's actually nothing wrong with that, because ultimately football is a 90 to 95 minute sport and it requires 11 men per side. So there's always the tendency that somebody from either side will give you that moment of brilliance where they will hit a 30-yard screamer that the goalkeeper just can't get to. Or they'll do something individually. And kind of that's what won us the game. Now, the reaction from a lot of the fan base was we should be beating teams like West Ham 2 or 3-0. But that's never the case, and it shouldn't be the case in football. And it's never been the case with Manchester United. Even when Fergie was in charge, you would have these banana skins, you'd have these difficult games. But where Fergie was good and where Ollie will start to learn is bounce back ability. If you all remember that phrase that was coined in the Fergie era, bounce back ability, it's how you approach the next game. And so you got to park Sunday, and you have to park last night, and you just move on. And the players that take the field, which I think we know the starting 11's likely to be, the guys that take that field have got to take the game by the scruff of the neck early doors. and really go at Aston Villa. I'm sure we'll get into Villa style of play later on in the show. But the likes of Ronaldo, likes of Varane, these are the types of games that they won't put up with. They won't have allowed it if they were playing. Ronaldo, I think on a couple of occasions was seen, pretty downbeaten, pretty frustrated of a lack of finishing. And it was a lack of finishing. It was individual errors that cost us the game on Wednesday night. But, some fans weren't particularly bothered. I kind of sit in that camp. Some fans think that Ollie needs to win a trophy. Well, to me, a trophy isn't the Carabao Cup anyway. The trophy is a Premier League or an FA Cup or a Champions League. And also, you've got to kind of bear in mind that we're only 5-6 games into the season. You grow in and you play your way into a season. You play your way into a title race. And I think the lads will slowly but surely gain momentum. But we've had a decent start. I mean, it'll be a really, really, really difficult game Saturday. So I don't want anyone telling me we should be beating Villa 3 or 4-0 because just end the show, James. Because there's no point engaging with people like that. You've got to understand who you're playing against all the time. And so Ollie's got to get them together. As I say, you've got to move on and just hope that when we come Saturday at 12:30, which is difficult kickoff time anyway, preparation is very limited between the two matches, but we start strong and we remain strong for 90 minutes.
Certainly, I can't help but agree. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, Marcus, is I think the game as we saw it yesterday. I think United, despite not winning the game or scoring a goal, they showed a level of control in that game that I don't think they've really showed in any game so far this season. But obviously, we just didn't get the ball into the goal. Do you think that's something we need to carry forward? Is that ability to control the game? Obviously, with our first team squad on the pitch, you'd expect that level of control to turn into goals. So, is that something that needs to improve, continue and improve?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, because you see Matic, you see Donny, and you guys made a point yesterday. Well, some panelists made a point yesterday about how we overhype Donny sometimes, and I do it a lot, right? Donny makes a 5-yard pass, and I'm like, oh my God, he's better than McFred, because that's how I feel. And I just feel like if it's going to continue, that's the key for me. Donny van der Beek and Matic have to play more, because I don't think Fred and McTominay, respectfully, can do that role. They offer a lot defensively. Obviously, Fred is very tenacious. He gets about the pitch. He gets a lot of interceptions. But passing the ball cleanly and progressing it up the field is not something Fred and McTominay do. And again, this is on Ollie. He's got to figure out a way to get a balance in that midfield where there is somebody who can handle the responsibilities, who can get the ball out of the tight areas. And I feel like Donny and Matic are the two that can do that now. They did start to give the ball away later on in the game against West Ham, and I think that was more down to them trying to take more responsibility, trying to be more, aggressive in their passing, and that was more of a team issue. That was more of us needing to get back into the game and taking more risks as a result of it, as opposed to them just being bad at passing. So, yeah, it's one of them ones there for me where it's another question and a problem that Ollie's got to solve this season, and if he can, we're going to be in good shape. We're going to be in really good shape. But if he doesn't solve it, I'm not so sure if I'll be if my optimism will stay at this level, because obviously I've been very optimistic so far, and that could change. So I hope we continue it. I really, really do. But I have a funny old feeling we'll see McFred again against Villa.
Yeah, you will do. I mean, you had a match fitness issue actually with Donny and Matic, to be fair, Marcus.
That's
particularly
true.
Donny, you had a match fitness issue, and people underestimate match fitness when you get deep into any game. And I can't remember the last time Donny played 90 minutes. I don't know if you guys can correct me. Was it Wolves away last season?
It was Wolves.
I'm not talking about pre-season or anything like that. I'm talking big match. So Wolves away, it's a long time to not be playing 90 minutes. So your point's absolutely well made and right. But it is a match fitness issue. When you get deep,
and with Matic as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Matic as well.
From about 70 minutes onwards, you've got to really concentrate because your legs are going, and what happens is your mental strength goes as well, and your mental ability goes when you're playing football. And so, point well made. But you're right. We're going to see McFred Saturday. So.
Yeah, we are, unfortunately. I mean, I'd rather see Neil or Stu in the midfield, to be honest with you, than McFred. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I could handle it. I could handle it, Marcus. Don't you worry.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you know Stu played football? I'm guessing that was an educated guess.
I didn't know, actually.
He DM'd me for my autograph the other day. What are you on about? Of course he does. He knows who he's talking to. I'm only joking. Callum, how are you, bud?
Hey, mate. Sorry I'm late.
Well, James didn't know you were coming on.
No, I didn't. I just turned on the stream and I thought, I can jump on. I'm free.
Brilliant.
Convenient.
Fashionably late, I believe the term is.
Anyway, Cal, we're looking at this sort of constructively. We've done the reactionary stuff yesterday from the game. What were your takeaways from the West Ham game that we can build on for Villa, that we need to improve on?
There's not really much to build on because he'll probably make 11 changes again. It won't be the first team that he'll start, will he? But yeah, look, I think I just caught the end of Stu saying it before. To be honest, I don't think many people were too bothered about the game. It was a trophy. It was an opportunity at a trophy, but look, it wasn't it was the fourth out of the 4 trophies available. So I think he'll use it as a bit of a springboard to go win the FA Cup or go see a strong showing in the Champions League or the Premier League. I'm still adamant that Ollie doesn't need to win a trophy to lose his job. I think a strong challenge in the league and a good showing in the cup competitions would be good enough for me. You know, if we lose a league by 1 to 6 points, I still think that's clear improvement. But we haven't got the best squad in the league. I'd argue City and Chelsea have definitely got that. Liverpool to an extent. So if United finish in the top 3, with more points than last year and strong showings across cup competitions, I haven't got a problem with that either. Look, it was disappointing that we lost yesterday, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the end of the world, was it? Improvement was needed in areas, but it was good to see some of the players get 90 minutes. Unfortunately, some of them didn't take their opportunity. I think Martial was probably the prime culprit in that. You know, these are the kind of games where you need to force yourself into the manager's plans, and 10 out, even all 11 of them probably didn't quite do that. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. I mean, Sancho was always going to be part of the first 11, but I think he needed minutes. Lingard will be there and thereabouts throughout the squad in the season. But I think Martial is probably either on his way out and knows it and can't be bothered trying anymore, or what once made him so good just isn't there anymore, unfortunately. And I think his time at United might be coming to an end.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Because when he is in form, he's such a likeable player, and when he's not in form, he's so infuriating to sit and watch. That's the problem. You know, he has the ability and the potential to be a real fan favourite, but something's just not gone right. Anyway, random fact for you I was researching today. This is the first time as Manchester United manager that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't reached a domestic cup quarter-final. I don't think that's a bad start at all in his favour. Obviously not won one yet, so none of it really matters, but I think cup competitions has been pretty consistent, so I think we can write this as sort of a one-off. But anyway, let's look forward, Stu. In terms of personnel, we're talking about 11 changes. Are we going to see 11 more this against Villa? And if so, who do you want to see coming back into this lineup?
I'm sure we'll do the team later. But yeah, I mean, there is going to be 11 changes. I think you're going to probably see the or close to starting 11. I know Sancho didn't start against West Ham in the Premier League, but I think you're going to see close to that starting 11 again, which it would be about right. I think, you know, De Gea coming back in is at this current time and his form is right. Is Wan-Bissaka, he's suspended in Europe, isn't he? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so, just Europe.
Yeah, so Wan-Bissaka will be back. Obviously, Shaw will be back, and we'll have the two centre halves. But I've got to kind of agree with Marcus. I think McFred will start, and then Ollie could choose any of 6, couldn't he? What was that?
Does Callum know what a tactic is? Did you put that, James? I
didn't put anything
on the comments. Oh, I bet that was Mark or Ben in the kick-off.
Probably was.
Callum know what a tactic is, yeah.
It's just vibes.
Yeah, so we'll go through the team later, but I do want to talk a bit about Villa because I think a lot of our fan base will expect us to turn Villa over. But if anyone's watched Villa this season, you're going to be in for a bit of a shock actually, because they're a very progressive, forward-thinking side, and they're very strong in one or two areas. Brilliant at set pieces. Not bad at ball retention. The turnover play is pretty good. And when you've got a player like John McGinn, now people might write John McGinn off, but Fergie's a big fan of John McGinn's. And if you watch his play, he's a very, very tenacious player, very technical, very good with the ball, can score a goal, can get the play moving. He can tackle as well. He can break up the plays. He really is a good, solid midfielder. And I think it will be a really difficult, high press, high octane game of football. Actually, I think if Ollie sets us up to counter attack, for once it will be good for us because Villa don't like playing against the counter attack. They try their best to nullify the counter attack where possible. But it will also give us an opportunity to get at them. The biggest problem I think we may have is they play 5 at the back, if I'm not mistaken, which is always and they don't play. You know, those are a genuine 5. I know Matty Cash and I can't remember the left back is a push on, but they get back quickly and they're very compact quickly. So I think it'd be quite a difficult task in terms of potentially breaking them down. This is why I think counter-attack football will work against Aston Villa. But you got to take your chances when you get them. They're pretty good aerially though as well. I don't know whether you guys know that. They're pretty good aerially, and they're not bad in front of goal. They take their chances. So I think it's going to be a really tough game. So I'm hoping that we press them high quickly, early doors. Don't start slow. Really go at them, get a couple of good challenges in early doors, maintain the ball, maintain our possession, and use it well. And we could come out winners, or should come out winners.
Hopefully. We're going to talk about Villa a bit more later on. You sort of jumped the gun a bit there, Stu. But,
sorry, mate.
You know,
yeah.
It's a regular occurrence now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus, I'll come to you next. I'll sort of alter the question that I asked Stu in terms of, was there anyone out there yesterday for United that you think played well enough to earn them a start?
Oh, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because immediately in the back four you've got to say no. I think upon reflection, Delo wasn't actually that bad, but at the same time, you know, Wan-Bissaka, I've been very frustrated with him lately. I've been very critical of him lately, but I just think defensively he's so much better than Delo. So in the back four, no. Henderson, not really anything to say about him. I think he had a very quiet game, which usually is a good thing, but when you're 1-0 down, of course, it's not. In the midfield, you know, I'm obviously a Donny fanboy, so, you know, that's the obvious one, but, you know, that one's debatable. So not really, eh? And I know some people would probably throw Lingard in there, but where does Lingard get in? Because, I mean, you've got Pogba probably playing on the left if McFred do start. You've probably got Greenwood playing on the right and Ronaldo up front. So does Lingard really get in there? Not really. I think we've all accepted that Lingard, whether you like him or not, is going to be an impact player, and that maybe that's his future at Manchester United. And who better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to convince him to, you know, be that super sub, be that player who comes off the bench and who knows, maybe scores an iconic goal. So I don't know. It's tough. I think Martial was a bit of a ghost yesterday as well. I don't know if he's as bad as some people were making out, but I did think he had an awful game, and I think it was in part because we didn't create any chances, but also he's got to take some responsibility. He didn't really do the things that we know he can do other than scoring goals, like dropping deep. So it's difficult. I don't think anybody really deserves a start apart from Donny and Matic, to be honest. So not really. And it's sad because they probably won't get in. You know, there's so many question marks around our midfield because when I said earlier that we need to be better at progressing the ball up, and you know, part of that is not playing McFred, people forget Pogba can play in the midfield as well. And yes, he's a defensive liability, but if you put someone next to him, like a Matic, he's not as bad. So lots of question marks, but I don't really know. I don't really think anybody deserves a start beyond Donny and Matic. And like we've said, there's a fitness issue there.
Well, just quickly before I go on to Cal, then, obviously you said you're a big fan of Donny van der Beek. From what you've seen the last, 13 months or however long he's been at the club, who do you think is the right partner for him in terms of balancing the rest of the squad as well, Marcus?
I think, obviously, I believe it's Matic, but because Matic can't stay fit and because there's question marks about whether or not he can play 38 games, I actually think he would be good next to McTominay. And I know that's a strange one, but my justification behind it is I actually think Donny can intercept the ball. I think Donny can get about the pitch. Yes, he won't be great at it at first, but I think he can grow into that role. No disrespect to Fred. I really do appreciate what Fred offers to the team defensively, but for me, that's just not enough. It really isn't enough. And I feel like McTominay is a similar sort of player. Obviously, he's not as quick and agile as Fred, but he can do the running around. He is a Duracell battery, AA battery, just like Fred. So I feel like you keep one of them into the team and you put Donny next to either or. And for me personally, I would go with McTominay. If you're forcing me to pick between McTominay and Fred next to Donny, I would go with McTominay, Donny, and then Bruno ahead of them too. So that's who I would go with. And then obviously Matic when we're playing against teams that sit deep and teams that give us space and time on the ball. I would 100% play Matic, but against a team like Villa and some of the bigger games, I would play McTominay next to Donny. And yeah, I would see how that goes, to be honest, because I don't have a better answer. I don't think Donny and Pogba work. Like that's a calamity waiting to happen.
Fair enough. It'd be interesting, definitely, to see him with a couple more partners. We've only already seen him with Matic, haven't we? But Cal, obviously we've got your opinions on players' performances last night, but I'll ask you sort of the opposite of what I asked Marcus. Are there any players that played yesterday that have sort of shot themselves in the foot with their performance?
Yeah, again, obvious one was Martial. I'd struggle to even see him play for United again, in all seriousness. I thought his performance was so appallingly bad. It was quite surprising. He didn't look interested at all. To be honest, other than that, I think there was a lot of pragmatic performances. Not good, but not bad. Just not enough to sort of force the manager's hand, I don't think. Donny was good, but again, I don't think he did amazingly well to the point where he'd replace Bruno in the number 10. Same with Lingard. He's not gonna move Pogba out of the team, or he's not going to move Greenwood or Sancho out of the team. So look, I don't really think. I think the whole point of last night was to give the first 11 a rest, get the backup 11 some minutes, get some fitness into them, and why am I being bullied about tactical preview here? What's going on here?
Why is
am I being bullied so much? Hey,
dear. It's PE teacher Karthik that's opened his mouth.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I can't see anyone from that game last night sort of forcing the manager's hand. Matic did. I thought Matic did very well, but again, he can't stay fit, and his legs are starting to get a bit ahead of him now. So yeah, he'll be a bit part player in terms of how much he can stay fit, Matic, but he'll definitely have a role to play in the league. I think 5 years ago, Matic would have won us the league, quite frankly. He's the exact kind of player that we're missing. But he's just not quite got it anymore. So we'll have to see. But I think it'll be a good game on Saturday. But Villa, like Stu said, Villa are going to be a really hard team to beat, to break down. Very talented players, really pragmatic and progressive approach. So we'll see. But I wouldn't expect anyone from last night to start the game, to be completely honest. Fair enough.
Well, the final thing on United I just wanted to touch on is the worrying trend so far this season, and it's sort of spilt over from last season, is that United don't start games very well at all in terms of, in the league, we haven't scored inside the opening half an hour. We've gone behind in 3 games out of the 7 so far this season. Stu, with a team of Aston Villa's quality, it's all there, obviously, that they're a very good team even without Grealish. Do you think if this isn't rectified, they'll punish us? And how do we rectify this? Because it can't just be a motivational issue, surely.
I don't know whether Villa will punish us, and that sounds a bit strange because they are sharp in front of goal and they do take their chances. and they do spread the goals around a bit. And Danny Ings is always a threat anyway. And obviously, Ollie Watkins has been since his move from Brentford, has been a bit of a revelation for Villa. And when you look at what Ivan Toney is doing in the Premier League as well, so people raised eyebrows at both of those players, and they both, proven the doubters wrong. Now, so Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings are a handful. It's hard to actually put your finger on what the issue is with our poor starts. Because it's not just an isolated incident. This has been happening, as you quite rightly pointed out, for 18 months, to 24 months now. We've been going behind on a regular basis, and yet we seem to dig deep. We're a second half team for some reason. And on the odd occasion, on the odd flashes, we're talking Leeds at home last season, where we've been brilliant from the off. And when we have been brilliant from the off, we scored heavily because we put teams under pressure. We've been quick, we've been slick, and teams haven't been able to handle us. So I don't really know. There's an old saying in boxing that some fighters will train to stay in the fight for the first 4 to 5 rounds, and their fitness kicks in from round 5, 6, 7, 8. Depending on what length of fight you have. And I'm not saying we do that, but we always come on strong in the second half of the game. We're always a lot fitter, a lot stronger. So I don't know whether Ollie and his fitness coaches are looking at that as a way of winning games and tiring teams out. It's just a theory. I could be completely wrong, but it's just a theory I've got. But the players and the quality that you've got, you shouldn't be on the back foot all the time. Now, there is an argument to say that the first 5 to 10 minutes, you take the ball, you move it, but you retain possession. You kind of play your way in, you feel your way in to a game of football. And you're looking, you're evaluating, you're seeing what's happened. You're kind of taking in the opposition. You're seeing how they're set up. You see how they come at you. And it should give you enough time to then decide how you're gonna tackle the game, the remainder of it. But we're finding ourselves sometimes down in 6, 7, 8 or 9 minutes, a goal down, or we've been under heavy pressure. So I think it's a difficult one to answer, James. And to be honest, I don't think anyone's got the answer because of it's not an isolated incident. So that's my theory. I'm not saying Ollie does train us or fitness coaches do coach us to come strong in the second half, but it's kind of a pattern. So yeah. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, Marcus, I'll come to you then, because obviously it's very understandable just backing off a little bit first 5 minutes, 10 minutes to see what the opposition is about. But we saw against West Ham, if it's costing you goals, you can't continue doing that. So, one, do you think that it is a major problem that we start games slowly? And two, the same as Stu, do you think there's any way of rectifying it?
Yeah, I think for me, one thing I've noticed about Manchester United, it's obviously not just one answer. There's multiple problems, right? One thing I've noticed about Manchester United is when we do start off, right, the first sort of 5 or 6 minutes, especially last season, we would press really high up the pitch. We would try to be very energetic. And then for some reason, at the 6th or 7th minute, we would just drop off and we drop deep. And you notice it every time. And I've heard a lot of United fans talking about it. And to be honest, at first I thought they were talking nonsense, but I started to notice it as well. We press really high up, and then for some reason, people stop pressing. And you just see Bruno running around like a headless chicken trying to win the ball whenever they're passing about in the back four. And I think part of that definitely is down to coaching, because if we're going to press up high, the team needs to do it together. Now, that's just in terms of winning the ball. And then when we're on the ball, I feel like too often we tend to play way too many long balls. You see Lindelof, you see Maguire, instead of passing it up the field, instead of working our way up the pitch, playing the 1-2s, being intricate, we opt to play the long ball. We opt to go over the top. And it's clearly a coaching issue, because if you notice, Bruno Fernandes tends to be a runner. I saw an interesting graphic on Twitter the other day showing the average position of Bruno and the front three players, and the formation that we play when we're in transition looks like a 4-2-4. Basically 4 people at the front, 2 people in midfield, and then the back 4. and that's because we play that way. And I'm not criticizing our style of play as a whole, but I think that could be one reason why we struggle so much at the beginning of the games. And I don't know what else it could be, because we've improved in terms of set pieces. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we're not conceding on set pieces anymore. Yes, we're wasteful in terms of corners going forward, and we're not really converting anything in terms of when we do win a lot of corners, it means nothing because we never score from corners. But defensively, we've improved a lot. Ever since hiring Eric Ramsey, we haven't conceded from a set piece.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but you know what? If you've got to tell a 28-year-old captain of Manchester United where to stand on a corner, you got problems. The problem what we were doing before, and it was a very easy get at as well. We were zonal marking. When you zonal mark, 2 or 3 players, you give a 2 or 3 yard run anytime. For the opposition, whoever the opposition is, you give them a 2 or 3 yard run. And if you're competent in the air, that's all you need. And what we're still doing this. We're still doing this, but what we're doing is lining up better. We're lining up a little bit now. You know, the days of Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, you didn't need a defensive coach because Bruce would be shouting at you. We have to get Alan Tong on. He'll tell you plenty of stories about playing with Brucey, and he'll be telling you exactly where to be and where to go. And Maguire's got to be doing this now. I think Varane is doing that more than Maguire. I think it's no coincidence. Varane's come and settled on. Look, we can give the credit to Ramsey. He probably is been quite influential, but I actually think it's on field. You cannot, because ultimately all a corner is swinging from the right or swinging from the left. That's all it is. Your job as a defender is to clear. However you do it isn't irrelevant. You just get in there and clear. So I think we are defending much, much better. The other thing I would say, the point you made about Bruno, is some players have an adrenaline rush at the beginning of every game. They just get this massive adrenaline rush. They've got to get rid of it. And they're popping around like bunnies all over the place to get this adrenaline out of it because they're that desperate to get the game started. And then what happens is they don't kind of come within themselves. They just relax a bit more. You've got to relax at the beginning of every football match because adrenaline's a killer. And Bruno, you're right. He just goes from left to right all the time, chasing the ball. You shouldn't do that. You should take 2 or 3, 4 steps, 4 jogs, that type of thing, and play your way into it. Adrenaline's an absolute killer. Absolute killer.
Yeah. Can I also say as well, though? Can I also just say, like, have you noticed how the goals we've conceded this season from open play as well? A couple of them have been deflections. So even like defending an open play, we've actually been quite solid. So it's hard to point why we keep going down.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right.
I think we need to address with the corner thing. How many teams actually do score from corners? It's actually, when you think about it, very rare that a goal comes from a corner. The set piece coach, I think, was more for the defensive frailties we were having last season in terms of defending set pieces. And it seems to have worked so far. We've not conceded yet. That was our issue. Yeah. We were the team that everyone scored a corner against. Now we're not. So we addressed an issue and we fixed it. I know it's early days, but it seems to be working so far. As for the attacking set pieces, it's like Stu said, you have to tell people where people have to stand on corners. You've got an issue with the player, not the coaching. So you kind of need to look statistically at how much you score from set pieces. In terms of free kicks and things, fine, and penalties, but corners actually very rarely do you score from them. So, but I think it's a debate in terms of coaching. Yeah, I get that, but I don't think it's this big thing to be made out when, in general, it tends to attacking set pieces don't actually tend to get you a goal that much anyway. It's better to have them to keep the pressure on their end of the pitch to then maybe see where we can go after the set piece and maybe get a goal that way. But I don't see the issue as much as some other people are making out, to be completely honest.
There's the art of scoring a header, getting the timing perfect, getting the direction perfect, getting the speed perfect, getting the power perfect. It's such a difficult task. And there's not many real exponents of a really good quality header. Years and years ago, Andy Gray used to be. Now he was a specialist at heading, certainly in in the 6-yard box. He was brilliant at diving headers. He just had this knack of being there at the right time. Cavani's very good. Cavani gave Manchester United fans post Ruud van Nistelrooy a real idea of how to score, how to position yourself in front of goal and where to be. And he was great with his head. Van Nistelrooy was better with his feet, but really good with his head. But the actual art of swinging across in, and you timing your jump, your arrival to meet that ball, it's wow. It's I don't know what the odds are, but it's not as easy as people make out. It's a difficult.
It's difficult.
It's a difficult task. It really is. Maguire gets on all corners. Maguire probably, out of all the corners we have, gets his head on 70 or 80% of our corner kicks, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But you know what's interesting about Maguire? Sorry to cut you off, Stu, but
no, it's all right.
One thing that's interesting about Maguire is at Leicester, he did used to score from corners. Now, I'm not saying this is a huge issue, right? It's definitely not. But for me, I would just like to see us try something different on set pieces. Take a short corner every now and then. Every now and then, every 5th corner you have, every 6th corner you have, take a short corner. Call someone, do a set play, do something different other than just whipping it in and praying. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I'd like to see Luke Shaw go for it.
Yeah.
He's got the ability to curl it back post. He's got a brilliant corner on it. But the problem with Shaw is, and Dallo had this issue last night, didn't he, with his crossing? Very low on occasions. They cross low, so they don't get past the first man. You've got to put a bit of elevation on it. The other thing about it is we've not had that presence. When Cavani doesn't play, we've never had that presence. And we noticed it last night. I think it was out like a sore thumb, didn't it? That we were crossing, but there's no real presence in there.
Yeah,
Ronaldo, we all know how he has developed that technique of hanging in the air.
Yeah, he's a bloodhound for headers.
It's amazing,
he's an absolute
isn't it?
bloodhound.
Absolutely amazing. He can get higher and he can hang there for, I don't know, split second longer, and he's really good in the air. So let's see what happens.
What surprised me with Ronaldo really is I think when he first came in, a lot of people thought he'd be quite sort of lazy when it came to defensive work, but he really hasn't been. I've seen him track back, I've seen him tackle, I've seen him really work hard for the team to get involved in that kind of pressing from the front cliche, and it seems to be working, and it's nice to see that whatever idea Ollie seems to have, or the coaches have seemed to have, Ronaldo's bought into it as well because he sees some kind of success in it. So, you're right in terms of when we say we don't have Ronaldo or Cavani, there is clear presence, and we saw that last night with Martial. I genuinely believe this idea with Ronaldo and Cavani being our strikers in 2-3 years, it will be Greenwood's time. We all keep speaking about how Haaland's going to be available next summer. I will say it till I'm blue in the face that we don't need to sign him. I know he will be incredible, but we have our own in Greenwood, and I think instead of kind of spending that money on him, I genuinely believe Greenwood's got the ability to do that instead. So, he's already scored 31 goals for Man United. He's still 19 years old, so we kind of need to protect Greenwood quite a lot and remember what a talent we have when it comes to him, because it is quite special what we've got on our hands really. And I think learning from the likes of Ronaldo and Cavani will do him so many favours in terms of his development over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
I agree. Well put.
Yeah.
Very well put indeed. Well, listen, we'll switch over to Villa then. We'll give them the final third of this show.
I'll go last then because I've already said my piece on Villa, haven't I? So put me last.
It's all right. If you've got more to add, we'll come to you. But I'll go to Marcus first then. Obviously, it's a Villa without Grealish, but we've seen already this season that doesn't matter all that much. It is a Villa notably without Leon Bailey, however. Without him, obviously he's probably not even the key threat for Villa, but who are you looking at in that Villa squad that's going to cause us real problems, and how do we stop him?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest and say I'm not very educated when it comes to Villa. Looking at their last 5 games, obviously they got embarrassed by Chelsea. I mean, maybe it wasn't that much of an embarrassment. I don't know, but losing 3-0 is never good, is it? They've lost 2, drawn 1, won 2. They're a shaky team at the moment, and I thought Leon Bailey when they signed him was a magnificent signing. I thought wow, they sold Grealish, but they are absolutely leveling up at the minute. And yes, he hasn't quite hit the ground running. He still has to get used to the Premier League and all of that. Obviously, Stu mentioned McGinn, and I agree with McGinn. Yes, he's not as great as some people make out to be, but the Premier League isn't just about technical ability. The Premier League is more often than not about physicality and your athleticism. That's why players, Marcus Rashford's one of my favorite players, but even I have admitted sometimes that the technical ability isn't there, but he doesn't need it. His pace and his physicality is what makes him better than the likes of an Anthony Martial, and so bringing it back to Villa, that's why I think McGinn is so good. He's just built for the Premier League, and people understate this. I remember on Twitter having a bit of an argument or back and forth with someone a couple of months ago, and they were saying, "Oh, the Premier League's not as physical as some people make it out to be," and I'm like, it absolutely is.
Yeah,
it absolutely is, because it's one of the few leagues in the world where if you have pace, you're a better player than most players in whatever position it is. I mean, Exhibit A, Adama Traore. Adama Traore. I mean, he's the best example of this, and I know he's a Wolves player, so. Yeah, I don't know. Villa, for me, have always been a team that, I think we have, especially recently, we have struggled against them. And I think for people to think we're going to beat them 3 or 4-0, it's an absolute myth. I mean, I remember the last game that comes to mind when we beat Villa 2-1 last year. They actually could have won that game. I believe we only beat them because of a penalty. And the goal we conceded was, funnily enough, off of a set piece as well. I remember that goal like it was yesterday because Grealish ran down the left wing. McTominay was out of position. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was out of position because I think they were arguing with the referee, and they sort of took the free kick quickly. And so Villa are a well-coached side. They will be switched on. And if we make silly mistakes, they will go 1-0 up. And, there is no guarantees in football. The second half FC thing, this comeback juice, man, we can't keep relying on it. It's not sustainable. And we have some serious questions that we need to answer ahead of this Villa game. And hopefully Ole Gunnar Solskjaer delivers tactically in terms of that.
Certainly. Well, I'll come to you, Cal. Obviously, we spoke about the poor starts that United have, the comebacks that we make, which are pretty remarkable. But do you think that Villa, on their day, if the best Villa team turns up and plays as well as they can, are they enough of a threat to punish us, which no other than West Ham and Young Boys, no other team really has? So is there a worry for you there that if we don't start well, we could be punished?
Look, I think when you look at most teams across the Premier League, in theory, Man United should be, probably 15 of them on paper, and Aston Villa are included in that. But, there's no doubt about it that Villa are a very talented team, and they do have players that can punish us. In terms of the start they've had, I said, I think on a weekend review show the other week, I was quite surprised at the start they had because of the team they have, and then I actually went away and thought about it, and they've obviously lost Jack Grealish, and if anything, they've probably improved their team with the signings they've made. But what we need to remember is they've made quite a lot of signings that are going to take time to bed in, and the fact that they've won 2 and draw 1, was it, with the signings they've made, sat in 10th place, it's actually a really good start for a team trying to bed in so many new players. The players you've got like Leon Bailey and Buendia, Danny Ings, these players are brilliant players. I'm surprised Tottenham didn't go for Danny Ings, to be honest, this summer, with Kane touted to possibly go to City. So, look, Villa have definitely got their ability to do something to us, but personally, I think Man United are too good for them, surely. I mean, you look at it on paper and you look at the players we have and Ronaldo up front, that sways it in our favour anyway. United go into most games as favourites, and this shouldn't be any different. Just looking at the last few games, it was 3-1 last time we played them, 2-1, 3-0. United should have enough to beat these. What the scoreline will be, it depends what United will turn up, really. Being at Old Trafford now and with the fans back, I kind of think it sways it so much into our favour anyway, because our performances from first half last season wouldn't have happened with the fans there, I don't think. I think United got a little bit too comfortable with how badly they got, because there was no fans there to cheer them on and sort of get them to kick their arse into gear, and that won't happen this season at Old Trafford. We seem to struggle a little bit at home last year in comparison to away. I think it won't happen at all this year. I think Old Trafford will be a little bit of a fortress. And I know who we played this season at home, Leeds and Newcastle. I think Villa should be another win. I'm not saying it's going to be 3-4-0, but I think it should be quite comfortable.
Also, don't forget, Ollie's job is on the line. So you know what happens when Ollie's job is on the line. I'm just saying, Villa, beware of Solskjaer under pressure.
As always.
I agree with both the lads. Actually, I think you're right. I think on paper, it's a game we should be winning. We've got the players out there to win. We've got the players out there to win comfortably, actually. But they're a tough nut to crack, Villa are. As I say, they're a compact unit. They do play 5 at the back, but of course, Tuanzebe has been relatively instrumental for them this year. He's slotted in brilliantly for them, and I presume because he's on loan, he won't be playing on Saturday. So I'm not quite sure who they'll bring in for that, which is a shame, really, because...
To be fair, Stu, just sorry to interrupt, mate. I think you did mention before they played 3 at the back, and I think they did against Everton.
Yeah.
They played 3 at the back with Axel there. I personally think they'll probably go to 4 at the back again.
Because he's not there.
Defenses and then go for a 3-man midfield. And then maybe look at dropping, the likes of Douglas Luiz slightly further back as the fullbacks go forward. But I do think they'll go to 4 at the back against us, just because they don't have Axel there to shore up that defence in terms of going to 3. I don't think they've got that light replacement.
I don't think they have.
That.
Yeah, well, what I was going on to say, though, I don't necessarily agree with this. You can't play against your parent club. I'd actually like to see Tuanzebe pitched up against Ronaldo, and on an attacking 3. I'd like to see how he handled it, and I'm sure Ollie would. So I'm not a fan of not playing against your parent club, but they look. Villa are one of those teams that could either capitulate quite quickly, or they could really just dig their heels in and become a stubborn opposition for us. And I'm hoping it's not the latter. I'm hoping it's the first where they do capitulate. But we've got to. It's like I said earlier. We've just got to take the ball by the scruff of the neck, and we've got to go at this game, and we've got to make a bit of a statement, not for just for Ollie and the players, but just to kick the fucking arse end out of this toxic fan base we seem to have at the minute.
It won't go away.
It won't go away. No, and we just need to start strong. So I said my piece earlier, James. I'm waffling now, pal. Sorry.
Well, I mean, even Ashley Young's coming back. Sorry, but Ashley Young, I think coming back. I have a fear of him haunting us, actually. But
I'm actually really excited to see Ashley Young back. To be honest, he ended up being a squad player in a first 11. Unfortunately, that wasn't his fault, and I definitely gave him a lot of stick because he was a little shite at times. But he kind of did his role. He stepped into left back. Like, don't forget, he went to, was it the 2018 World Cup as our starting England left back? He performed his role to the best he could, and he kind of shown his uses in when it came to that. But his time to go was probably a little bit earlier than when he actually did leave. But I am excited for him to come back. But like I say, I think in terms of our players and their players, United should easily. I kind of disagree, Stu. I think United should do these. Especially with the players. I know they've got great players, but they have, like, Chelsea beaten 3-0. I think United should be looking at doing something similar, to be completely honest. With the way the league's going and the goal difference possibly coming into play in terms of the title, these are the games where United should be looking to win 3-4, 5-0 just to keep us close.
Did you guys watch the Chelsea match? Just out of interest, did any of you watch
the League Cup or the?
No, the league. I know Chelsea went out 3-0 win.
Caught some of it. Yeah,
but Villa played exceptionally well that game, which the scoreline doesn't
that show everything though, mate?
Yeah, it does.
They didn't play badly at all. I saw glimpses of it. Villa played well. Still got beaten 3-0.
Yeah, got beat 3-0. I know. Yeah.
You can play as well as you want, but there's only one score. Like, kind of relevant to last night. You can play as well as you want. The only thing that matters isn't the possession or how many passes you do, or goals. The expected goals. It's the goals. It's the goal score at the end. And ultimately, as good as Villa probably were against Chelsea and show that they can handle some of the bigger teams, Chelsea still kind of swept them aside in terms of goals scored, and that's ultimately the thing that matters the most. And United need to be looking at doing this, because we're not going to go beating Liverpool, City, Tottenham, Chelsea. We're not going to go beating these 4-5-0, whereas the teams like this City and Chelsea probably will go beat 3-4-0. So United need to be a little bit more ruthless than they have in the past, and kind of just take respect out the window and just go take these games at the scuff of the neck and batter them if they can do. With the likes of Ronaldo up front now, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be, especially at home as well.
Yeah.
No.
We've seen. I was going to say that we've seen, even like when we do beat teams 3-0, it's usually not like a dominant performance from the first half up until minute 90. Usually it's in the second half that we score most of the goals. So, just like Chelsea beat Villa 3-0, I think even when Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 3-0, 2 of their goals came late on. So that's not a thing that's exclusive to United. That's a common trend in the Premier League. Usually, if you don't actually watch a game, you're thinking, wow, they got piped. But actually, you might find they played quite well. And I think if we do beat Villa 3 or 4-0, it won't be a glamorous first half performance. You'll still have people questioning the quality of football as usual, and you'll still be able to pick holes. But I just think that's normal. I really do. And to be honest with you, I'm not really bothered about the scoreline. I won't lie to you guys. I just want to get the 3 points and move on with life.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Marcus. I just want to win. The lads know I think about how football should be played. I just want to win. I just want to score goals and win. And if we win 1-0. And we win 1-0 for the rest of the season, all our games, I don't care. You just want to win, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with some people. They're just jumping on the bandwagon of how we play football, and we're not playing attacking enough football. But if you ask them about it, they couldn't give you a reason. They couldn't tell you why. They couldn't tell you what is attacking football. I find it quite funny. So.
Yeah, I mean, some people just want to see triangles and tiki-taka football in it. But for me, if it doesn't get the results, doesn't matter at the end of the day.
What's the point? You could be as pretty as you like. I'm not talking about you personally, but you could be as pretty as you like. Yeah. As you roll the ball out to your fullback and he drops it into centre half and he does a rainbow flick over to the left back and the left back does a half volley, into Fred until you get to that 18-yard area and then nothing. What's the fucking point of that?
Yeah. True.
The point is, get it as quickly as you can to the 18-yard box, 6-yard box.
Yeah, but you could add to that though, really. With Pep coming in recently over the past few years, and some fans seem to think he's revolutionised this way of playing football. I don't want to sound like Sam Allardyce and a 70-year-old man here, but there's no reason that a specific type of football has to be played. All this tiki-taka and football manager players, G-Gem press and Rigundas or whatever they're all called. All these crap little roles that seem to have taken so much prevalence in football over the past few years. The thing that matters at the end of the day is winning the game of football. And people seem to make out that our team seems to be very boring at times, but it isn't boring every game. Sometimes it's pragmatic, and because United don't have this one buzzword, because they don't have this one style of play and that they adapt to different games, people seem to mistake that with Ollie doesn't have coaching or tactics or any kind of plan. It simply isn't true. But because we haven't got one defined style of play like another team does, it comes across as this kind of issue to our fans, and I don't quite understand why, because the notion of it is quite silly. You should be able to have plan Bs and plan Cs and plan Ds when it comes to it, and United do have that. Sometimes we can be boring, but sometimes we can be fucking amazing to watch. And that's the best thing about it. I don't want to sit here and say we play tiki-taka football, because we don't do. We might do sometimes, but we might play counter-attacking football sometimes. We might man mark sometimes. It's adapting to what game we're about to play and adapting and the tactics to the team that we're playing. And I don't understand why that's seen as a bad thing in modern football.
It isn't, though, Carl, and you're right about what you say. But the thing is, players have got to adapt during the game as well. They've got to take ownership during the game. Yeah,
and I'd like to think in some games they do, but obviously that has been shown that they don't. And I think more than anyone, Stu, that is kind of where it is a little bit frustrating, because that's where it comes out that Ollie's blamed, and they're the kind of issues that aren't Ollie's fault or the coach's fault anyway. Yeah. You need players that kind of do need to go, right, this isn't going right. Something's not right. Let's try something different. We're all professional footballers. We know the game as well. We can try something different as well. Because, as fans will notice it, but the coaches will notice it too, and the people that will notice it first is the players. If they can sense that something's not right or they're not getting anywhere, they will try and adapt, and it doesn't seem to happen sometimes, but that isn't a coaching issue. Like, just going on that point there, Jarvis has just made, look at how direct Liverpool play. They don't have one defined style of play. They have a style in terms of winning the ball back and pressing and constantly giving the defenders a hard time to win that ball back. But when they have the ball, they don't pass it around for ages. You know, they try and get the ball as fast as
they get it out wide and
it's not one defined style of play that Klopp has. And to his credit, it's something that Liverpool have worked incredibly well at over the past 2 years. You know, nearly winning the league, winning the Champions League, and then the following year going and winning the league. It's worked for them, and they don't have one style of play, I'd argue. You know, they have lungs that don't seem to run out and work ethic and constantly trying to get the ball back. But in terms of when they've got the ball themselves, they don't necessarily have one style of play.
Yeah. I think it really does come down to preference at the end of the day, really, because some people think a style of play is just basically a set of principles that you follow and you stick by, right? Like you mentioned with Liverpool, the reason why people associate them with high pressing is because that's a principle of how they play. As soon as they lose the ball, they press extremely high up. And for some people, I guess they just don't agree with the current principles of Manchester United. And for me, like if that's what you think, then say that. And, you know, as I've alluded to on previous shows, my problem with a lot of the Ollie Out crew who are extremely toxic is they don't say it in that exact way. They just kind of use the lazy, you know, blanket terminology of, oh, he has no tactics and this, that, and the other. And so I think you're 100% spot on. It's not just one thing or one identical style of play. It's principles across how a team plays and how they adapt. You know, I mean, I think of the great Real Madrid teams. They were boring to watch sometimes, even though they won 3 Champions Leagues.
Let me just add to that. In terms of style of play, by the way, you can have multiple styles of play because, believe it or not, the dimension of a football pitch hasn't changed. You know, you've got a certain area you've got to play with, and that's it. And all this tiki-taka stuff, or this long ball stuff, or rolling out from the keeper and passing it across, and all this kind of nonsense. It's not about a style of play. It's actually getting hold of the game. Sometimes people confuse a style of play to actually getting hold of the game again, because you might have been under severe pressure for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you've got to do something to completely disrupt the opposition, whatever it may be, however it may be. You know, and possession-based football can do it. Clearing it 50 yards can do it. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, so why people go on about a style of play is they don't understand the basic fundamentals of football, and this is the problem. All they see is what they want to see. I spoke about it many times, Marcus, on previous shows about the Football Manager, Championship Manager type of play, that he will pick a ridiculous formation when some of the most effective styles of play, if you want to call it, a 4-4-2. They're the most direct and effective style of football. And Liverpool almost, if you watch Liverpool, will go to a 4-4-2 on occasions when they are attacking and when they're defending. We don't. We don't trust ourselves to do that. And sometimes you just have to. If you're under the cosh, sometimes you just got to go back to basics, take a deep breath, and then restart. And this is where I'm going to say it, James, you're going to laugh at me, I know, but player intelligence comes into it. I talk about it all the time, Marcus, and I get a bit of ridicule about it, but I talk about it all the time because it's really important. Is player intelligence, player aptitude, and the willingness, by the way, for a player to go out onto that pitch and actually do and put into play what the coaches are saying. You know, it doesn't always happen. Look, if you play the game, you'll know this. I know Cal plays five-a-side. He's getting back into it. And Cal, I'll tell you, he can go onto that pitch. He can have a worldie one week. The next minute, he's tripping over his fucking feet.
I mean, that is rare. It's that the second thing he says probably more.
But that's what happens with football, doesn't it? And players of our limited ability to compare to the likes of Ronaldo and that, take ownership on a Saturday afternoon. We take ownership and say, this isn't working for us, lads. We've got to We've got to find a way, as Cal said, of playing our way back into the game. And we're always talking on the pitch, always talking about what we do. Close him down, get quicker to him because he's the one that causes problem. You can't. It's hard to fathom that a Premier League footballer doesn't do that, isn't it? It's difficult to fathom.
Yeah.
But we appear to be having, and that's why I would always argue against the coaching. I'm not saying coaching's incorrect, because obviously coaching's important, but I always argue against that because application is just as important.
That's true.
As message.
That's true.
So
just a couple of points. Just a couple of points to make, especially with it being Villa game. I want to bring it back to them. In terms of Villa, they don't actually have any defined style of play. I don't think. I think Dean Smith got his idea. A very, very good coach as well, by the way. But he's never been set in his ways in terms of what he wants to do. Like you can see that in terms of formation. He's picking with 3 at the back and then sort of 4 at the back sometimes. He likes to use his full backs. He likes to get them forward. But there's other weeks where he doesn't mind defending and holding off teams. There's other weeks where he dominates possession as well. There's never a defined style for them. And I think what you said before in terms of adapting to how, in the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, seeing how they set up, seeing how they come at us, it won't be the worst thing to maybe see how that goes and adapt to how they want to play, and see how our tactics fit into that, and see if we can outsmart them, which I don't doubt we can. I think United obviously have got good coaches, good players, so we should be able to adapt and overcome to whatever tactics Villa put out on the day. My second point that I just wanted to say as well is that we've seen a couple of things about Pep and Klopp in the comments. I personally believe Klopp is a better manager in terms of between the two of them. I think, don't get me wrong, Pep's great, but in terms of how he gets his players working for him, how much Pep moans about the squad that he's got, I just think Klopp is, and it pains me to say it, obviously with it being Liverpool, but I do genuinely believe Klopp is better than Pep. I think if you put Klopp in charge of that City team, City would have won the Champions League twice by now, I personally think. If you'd have put Ollie in charge of that City team, they'd have won it every year, I reckon, but that's just me. That's just my...
if his job was on the line every week, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll chime in with the Klopp-Pep thing. I think, my opinion of those two has always been, Pep does very well with a team of world-class players, which is not to be understated. That's a hard job to do, getting all them in a squad and playing well. But I think the thing that Klopp does is he takes normal players and makes them world class. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he makes normal players world class. I think he makes good players world class.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think Pep has world class players and consistently maybe keeps them world class. And that in itself probably is hard to do with the egos within that squad. But it's probably easier. It's easier said than done, obviously. I just think with the way Klopp works and the way he sets up his teams, I just think he is better than Pep. And nobody can come at me for that because he coaches Liverpool, who I hate more than City. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. But you can't say I'm doing it just to annoy City fans, because I'd much rather annoy Liverpool fans than City fans. So, I think it's a very debatable point. A lot of people will say Pep's better than Klopp, but it's just my personal opinion in terms of those two managers. Obviously, Ollie's number one, but
of course
it is.
Yeah. Well, listen. I'll wrap this show up because we've gone over the hour. I know people have got places to be. I'll have the final say. I like letting you guys just talk it out. It makes my job easier. But I'll have the final say on the game coming up. I think with the players we've got available, if we can control the game to the level that we did against West Ham, which I don't think is out of our remit by any means, if we can sort of replicate that sort of control on and off the ball, other than maybe the last 5 minutes where West Ham should have scored a couple. But if we replicate that with this same set of players, with the set of players that we expect to start, there's no reason why we can't hand Villa another 3-0. It's easier said than done, but I'm confident in this team's ability to do that. So just to finish this off, I'll come round and get a score prediction off all of you. So I'll go to you first, Stu.
I think we'll win 2-0. And unsurprisingly, Ronaldo to score first. I think Greenwood. I think it'll be Ronaldo and Greenwood.
I see Greenwood back in the goals. Callum, I'll come to you next.
I think it'll be 3-0, and I think Ronaldo will get 2, and Greenwood will get a goal as well.
Mark
One
in the
set up by
confidence.
Pogba.
Marcus, you going for the clean sweep?
Yeah, I think, I have a feeling we won't keep a clean sheet, but, I think we'll destroy them. So I'm going to go 4-1, because Ollie's job's on the line. So, he's got to win, obviously. every time he's under a bit of pressure, we seem to get a big result. So I think, the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer judge is going to be up this weekend again.
Does that mean we can see first Marcus? Or?
Yeah, definitely. We have to go 1-0 down within the first sort of 6 minutes and then work from there.
Very hard for us to win if we don't go 1-0 down, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm on the same wavelength as Marcus. I think we'll concede first and then win 3-1, maybe 4-1. If we play the way we know we can play, this game will not be a problem in the slightest. So yeah, that's all from us. A massive thank you to my panel. It's been a brilliant show. Thank you to Callum for randomly jumping on and not replying to our messages all day. I remember that. You
Stop outing me. You're chatting shit, mate.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, thank you to all the people in the comments. Been a good discussion in there again. It's always great to hear your thoughts on everything. Stay tuned for Timeline Talk tomorrow, providing we get enough guests for it. But yeah, until then, stay tuned to the channel, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.